Hey, welcome to Gradwell, a limited series podcast that explores various ways the University of Michigan can support its graduate students in their journey to greater well-being in our everyday lives. Brought to you by Rackham Graduate School. Each episode will explore a different dimension of well-being by interviewing a resource on campus that can help you thrive a little better. I'm Sam Hobson, a PhD candidate and a GSSA in Rackham's Professional Development and Engagement Office. My fellow grad students, it's time we start placing as much importance on ourselves as we do our work. You're worth the effort.
My life got exponentially better the more things I added to it that were not just being a graduate student.
Hello. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about social well-being with Amanda Healy, who is the Assistant Director for Community Partnerships at the Ginsberg Center. I'm excited to have you with me and Amanda today. All right, let's just dive right on in.
Excellent.
So, Amanda Healy used to be one of us. She received her PhD here at the University of Michigan in English and Women's Studies. No big deal. Amanda is committed to addressing issues of inequality and power, and she believes that education is a powerful motor for social change. This has led to her work in public engagement. While she was getting her PhD here, she had a fellowship with Rackham, where she supported the development of Rackham's program in public scholarship. She also worked on a massive online open course entitled Community Engagement, Collaborating for a Change, and we'll make sure to link that in the resources. Amanda now works at the Ginsberg Center as their Assistant Director for Community Partnerships. In this role, she stewards and facilitates partnerships between the university, its students, and the community. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for being here with me today.
Hi, Sam. I'm really excited to be here.
So glad. Okay, Amanda, I am truly fascinated by your background. I need you to tell me all about it.
Oh my gosh, you are going to regret that question. I'm like, I don't know if anyone who's listening is familiar with Clifton Strengths. It's a resource, one of sort of a personality typology, but my number one strength is context, which is like, I love background. I love a story. I love some shaping information. So how did I end up at the Ginsberg Center? I hit a wall where when I was on fellowship my fourth year and my work was going comparatively well, I struggled a lot with my own anxiety and insecurity about my intellect in early grad school. But I'd hit a place where my work was actually going pretty well. And I just felt like the bottom fell out. Like I was just like, why am I doing this? I felt this big gap. Like I'd always thought that my problems in graduate school were that I like wasn't smart enough. I hadn't found my place. I hadn't found my research. And to find it and feel like, oh, this work is interesting. I'm enjoying it. But damn, does it feel far away from the thing that brought me here? Like my desire to do change. And then I sort of panicked. I was like, oh shit, I don't want to do this. Oh no. I know. I have no idea what I want to do. And so I happened to be really fortunately coming up through graduate school as what now is like a really robust suite of offerings for alternative career development exist at Michigan. So I was really I hooked right into a Rackham program in public scholarship. And the first thing I did for myself was identify a couple careers that I was like, okay, this might not be my dream job, but I remember shadowing this really cool woman who was an academic advisor at Noonan, shadowed some folks in CRLT and was like, oh, okay, cool. I can see a few jobs that I could be qualified for, working in faculty development, working in student advising. And having that knowledge really freed up my head and my heart to start being like, okay, but what would be really exciting to me? And I had a lot of time experimenting around just sort of that nexus or that intersection between where the university and its publics and communities come together. And that was the place where I tended to get really excited, right? Where like the thing that I felt I had expertise and facility in, which was like academia for better or for worse. And then community, which was the thing that like as a core value for me, whenever anyone ever asked me like, what's important to you? I was like, community. The connections we build with each other, the ways we show up for each other in both big social structural ways and also in individual interpersonal ways. And I just sort of followed my nose. The Ginsberg Center had some turnover and they were looking for a grad student, or a recent grad, to fill in a gap as a temp. And the job just showed up in my inbox and was like, we're looking for a community matchmaker. I felt like my eyes probably were like a slot machine of just the cherries. And then, yeah, I just fell in love with the center. That's one way of talking about them, one 15-minute way of answering that question.
Thank you, Amanda. What I love about your story or what you've shared with us is that after the inevitable rite of passage of the existential crisis mid-program that we all go through, what I love and what I heard was just sort of this, I don't know, you seem to have sat back and like sort of let it come to you. There seemed to be a trust, a knowing, a decisiveness in your path, even if there was a lack of maybe like a label or an articulation of it. There seemed to be like a feeling you were following, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's not in that story is that I was in therapy that whole time. I talk about therapy all the time, which is just like maybe a very like white millennial girl thing to do, but doing my own healing and work and coming to have a deep, real relationship with myself was essential to that process. And so it feels honestly like a really reparative reading of my story to like see like a trust in myself. I'm like, thank you. I think in some ways it was informed by like a commitment to figuring something out. I think I was invested in moving towards something and not just running away from something. And I'll also say that was like a factor of privilege, right? And I think to talk about the freedom I felt to do some of that exploration and to really take my time dawdling through the PhD without talking about the privilege that informed it, which doesn't mean that other people can't do that or that like, oh, you have to have that in order to dream. I think that's not true at all. But I do think for me, at least, I feel a really keen awareness, right? Particularly as I age more and more for whatever spaciousness that gave me. And so I think that's something I think about a lot with the process that I went through.
Yes, yes. I really appreciate the term spaciousness and how maybe often we don't necessarily feel that in graduate school. And so I'm glad that you had space for spaciousness. Okay, so Amanda, as the Assistant Director for Community Partnerships, what does well-being mean to you?
Oof. I think there's a few different facets of that to me. I think, as I just said, and I really do mean this, I think well-being requires to be in like a real intimate proximity with our own selves. And that feels really important to me as like as a critical piece of that. I think when I think about well-being and health, I think of them as like a sort of a resource, right? That we have varying levels of access to at different times. And I also think for me, and when I think about my role and like the beliefs that shaped me being here and being invested in the work that I am, well-being is also connected to our ties to our communities, right? And so I think like for me that there's a number of different components and different pieces to it. And for me, I guess like I've underplayed the physical piece of that in that answer. Like I think that's maybe a lot of what people think about. But I guess I, in my day-to-day, think a lot more about psychosocial or spiritual in some ways, like pieces of what those things mean.
So what I'm hearing is an internal and an external, an interpersonal and an intrapersonal aspect that are necessary pieces of the balance of well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam, am I allowed to do this? I'm so curious. Do you doing this podcast have for in your mind, like a working definition of that term?
I would say it is in alignment with what you described in terms of sort of a spiritual component to it. And I believe that the physical manifests from the internal and that there needs to be a relationship with self in order for the being to be well, right? From there, I think everything sort of reverberates outward from that internal work that is difficult and also needs to be done in community, which I think is another aspect that is rarely spoken about or addressed when we even talk about sort of the internal aspects of well-being.
I think to me also figuring out how to bring together for myself, even trying to talk about this to synthesize the connection between how collective well-being is and how intimately personal. I guess a good friend of mine who's a writer based in Minneapolis wrote this post about National Coming Out Day one year that has stuck with me, where she said the thing about being in the closet is that when you're in the closet, you're never fully anywhere else. And I think about that a lot with that sense of community and connection is like when I am not in proximity with myself, when I am not present with myself, I am never actually fully present with anybody else. And so I guess that maybe is like what brings me there. Like I said once, like I was like, I realized that like when I'm lying to myself, I am always lying to everybody else too. That I cannot be the person I want to be in the world without being that person for myself.
Absolutely. That resonates with me like so deeply. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so in alignment with what we've spoken about regarding like how community seems to be an incredibly necessary aspect of well-being, at least to you and to me. The focus of this episode is on the social facet of well-being. What do you think that looks like, particularly for grad students?
Oh, it's so hard. I think it can be really challenging to have your life and your profession collapse so intensely and fully the way they can be by graduate school. And I will say I have friends who did a way better job of treating graduate school as their career and their work and then having a life and that those things overlapped, but they weren't the same. That was not me. I was like,
do that?
Here these things are together. This is it, right? Like, this is my life. And I actually, like, when I was deciding on programs, it feels amusing to me or like just like gently funny in retrospect. I was looking at a program in Seattle and I was like, it's not campusy enough. Like, I was like, no, that's what I want. I want my whole life to be from the vantage point that I'm at now. And I do think there can be like really beautiful things and friendships that are born out of that. But I just think that's a really challenging thing to have so much of your world all compressed together into one place and to be closed into so many people. And so I think, and also to have relationships. And again, like I'm neurodivergent. So sometimes I can't tell when I'm like, oh, this is a challenge everybody has. And when I'm like, oh, nope, that's me. That's my brain. But like parsing what those relationships are when you're like, oh, these are the professors and it's like friendly and collegial, but also they are judging me. Like that's kind of their job is like training me and judging me and how to do that dance. I think that can be a really hard setup to figure it out. And the thing is, my life got exponentially better the more things I added to it that were not just being a graduate student. And that took time. But the more different things I had going on, like a thing I learned was that if I let it, everything would take up all the space that I had for grad school. And so in order to have healthy and productive and productive feels like generative relationships with folks, I needed to build a world for myself where I wasn't experiencing scarcity. I took a break between undergrad and graduate school and I had just this like really abundant, loving, magical community in Minneapolis. And so to come here and then feel like that constraint, I think it put a lot of pressure on all of my relationships and all aspects of my graduate student career. So, and I was like, also, I may have an ulterior motive here, but I'm like, give yourself space and build relationships and connections that aren't all completely yoked to one outcome. I think that for me, like having social well-being, particularly as a graduate student, I think is allowing yourself the multidimensionality that you do actually have. Things I wish I had done as a graduate student that I think would have given me a lot more stronger sense of social well-being. Volunteered with Natural Area Preservation they do counts of different wildlife, or you can go and learn with them how to do controlled burns. Like I wish that I had built connections with like, it took me a long time to start building connections with like the actual physical place and with people who were outside the university until I started really doing organizing work in the community and showing up in different places. And those are things I wish I had done. Those are things I wish I had done earlier. So different people master all this stuff in lots of different ways. But I'm like, for social well-being, cultivate, just like our landscapes don't do well in a monoculture, cultivate for yourself like a diverse social landscape, which doesn't mean you have to have 10,000 friends, but maybe look at the different places that you're making connections and build those out and build connections, not just with other graduate students or other professors, but also with members of the world you share, who share your coffee shop, who share your grocery store, who share your polling place. Build some of those ties across the space that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. My first reaction was, oh, I'll just make grad student friends in a different department. And you were like, actually, Sam.
That was actually very important for me. It took me years to learn what engineers did, but that felt exciting. Eventually start learning about that. I was like, I think I was doing CRLTs, preparing future faculty. And I was like, so bridges? Or like choo-choo train. They were like, not that kind of engineer. Yeah. I mean, I actually think that's like a totally reasonable building block is make friends with somebody in C's if you're in English. It's not always super easy, but it's also not as hard as it can feel to find ways to connect.
Yeah, I feel like what I'm hearing from you, Amanda, is that we have to be human beings and like not just graduate students. And I feel like that might be difficult for some of us, myself included.
It can be tricky. I think I missed the social cue my first year about like, oh, I really am supposed to be working all the time. Not that I was using that time to like volunteer in my community or do things that necessarily promoted my well-being. But I think it is tricky because we want to make the most of our time here. We get to, some of the lovely things about graduate school that a lot of which I don't think I got to let myself fully enjoy because I was too anxious. But you get to be around these like really amazing, brilliant minds and both your peers and your professors. You get time to just read so many books. I've been like trying to scrap together time to read like something for 6 months. And maybe I'm just bad at prioritizing this. Somebody's dissertation on developing community advisory boards. And I've been like, oh, when shall I find the time? It's so cool to have somebody say like, no. I have really strong ideas about these things that are going to help you learn. And so I want to make sure that my advice isn't like, yeah, ignore all the reasons that you gave me here. But it is like build out the ecosystem that has the other resources in it that you need. Like you can't just live on paper and ink in the library or screen. There also needs to be some water and some snacks, music, and all those different pieces.
Okay. We need to sort of feed into the biodiversity of our soil. That is us. Okay, I hear you. Okay, well, with that being said, what is the Ginsberg Center?
Oh, I love to talk about the Ginsberg Center. So we're a community engagement center at U of M. U of M is a huge decentralized place with lots of incredible things, including many places on campus that do community engagement. But Ginsberg Center is discipline agnostic. We're actually based in student life. And what that means is that we work with everybody. We work with all 19 schools and colleges. We are not issue or population specific or discipline specific in any way. We work with everybody. And similarly in the community, we work with everybody. Our mission is to cultivate and steward relationships between the community and the University of Michigan. And that community for us is hyper-local in focus. So Washtenaw County first, Southeast Michigan more broadly, and then we do have some greater Michigan partners. But it's really helping Michigan deepen its relationship with that community. There's sort of two trios that I use when I introduce the Ginsberg Center, because we do a lot of different things. One is stakeholder groups. We work with community organizations, so social sector broadly conceived. You could be a 501c3, but you could also just be a community group. It could be a school, it could be a government agency. And then we work with students and student organizations. And then we use the term academic partners. So faculty, staff, other people who work at the university. Those are the stakeholder groups. And then the content, sort of the what of what we do, if that's the who, is what Nirja, our director, calls the 3 Ps, which are partnerships. So we build long-term, year-over-year sustaining partnerships with community organizations that, like I said, I feel like I say this every day at least 5 times, right? U of M is really big. It's really decentralized. That means it's really resource dense and there's amazing things, but it can be really inaccessible and really hard to navigate. So we try to be a central doorway through which people in the community can access the university. We are here for partners building year-over-year partnerships. We also do preparation. So a lot of our work is in supporting students and faculty in preparing to do ethical, effective, transformative, on our best days, community engagement. So trainings, consulting around research design or course development. We do workshops. We have a fellowship program. We do just a ton of different things to help prepare students and faculty in the work they're doing with communities. And then that final P is pathways, which I think we'll talk about a little bit more. But a lot of folks, students especially, will come to us for the first time and they have sort of one idea of what it is to do good in the world, to help make change. And we try to help students say like, okay, yes, direct service is one way, but there's actually a whole host of ways to make change and to help them think through all those different pathways and all the different ways there are to make change in the world. So that's just the first level of my spiel. But we are trying to help make social change in the world and community engagement, connections between the university and the community. That's our praxis. That's how we do that.
Literally awesome. I wish I had discovered the Ginsberg Center long ago. I really do think it would have really transformed my time here. But better late than never. We're here now.
Come hang out with us. Starting in the fall, we'll have a beautiful new building so you can literally come and hang out with us. We've been in some temporary digs in a former Taco Bell in the basement of the Michigan League for a while. But
nothing wrong with Taco Bell.
Come hang out in our beautiful new space.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So you spoke about the numerous and various pathways of engaging in social change. Tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, I think often when we talk about undergraduates, and this is something quite different for graduate students, but they come to us and they're like, okay, doing good, helping the community, that means doing direct service. That means tutoring a child, helping at a soup kitchen. And we're like, it's actually a much broader range. We use a framework. This Pathways framework is national. It was actually developed at the Haas Center at Stanford, and now it's part of the National Professional Organization for Community Engagement and Civic Engagement Centers Campus Compact. So maybe we can link to that too. But it is basically a framework that encourages us to say like, okay, so direct service is one of those pathways, but policy and advocacy is another way that we might make change in the world. Another one might be community organizing. Another pathway might actually be community engaged teaching, using the classroom and our learning to be a site of change and connecting in the community. Philanthropy, social entrepreneurship, all of these different ways, right? And I don't think like the model is necessarily exhaustive in detail, but the idea is, at least for me, that question of like, oh, I want to make change in the world. And if the world is soil, am I like a shovel? Am I like a trowel? Am I like a hoe? Like, what is it? How is it that I'm going to go out there and interact with the world? Maybe we're all seeds, I don't know. But that is a way to help us see like the different pathways, the different ways the forms we might take as we do work in the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, first, the shovel, throw, soil analogy. I know. I started thinking, what am I? I feel like I'm just a tree. I don't see where that aligns with the analogy.
System. Like, I just want to be water.
With all of these pathways, and I really appreciate sort of the emphasis on like, no, there is so much diversity in how you can make impact, right? And then because I think the narrative that's taught to us is very one-track minded. And so with all of these different pathways, what are the ways that you believe that the Ginsberg Center can contribute to specifically grad students' social well-being?
Oh my gosh, so many ways. One is that we hire graduate students. So if you are looking to build professional experience and find different ways to connect and expand your networks, I know that's really the sort of like material resume line down and dirty way, but we work with a ton of graduate students in a ton of different ways. It is maybe selfishly motivated for me, one of just like the lights of my life. I love our students. We just had a meeting, our cohort meeting for our community partnership graduate consultant track yesterday. And like, we sat in a cozy room and ate snacks and talked about how we're all doing. And our graduate students report that they get a lot out of that experience, right? That it helps them add some balance to their life of having a different way of engaging their brains and thinking. But I promise this is not all just a recruitment pipeline. That's one way. You're a great place if you are interested in connecting and doing something in the community. And you're like, oh, I don't actually need that to be connected to my research, but I do want to feel connected to my community. There's a few different ways we can support you. We have a partnership with the United Way and Eastern Michigan University to support a volunteer portal. So now all the different organizations, any community organization in Washtenaw County can post on this portal when they have volunteer recruitment opportunities. And then we host that, and we host an interface that comes right to students. So if you're like, I want to get connected in the community, but it feels really overwhelming to just Google organizations, never fear. You can go on that portal and pick an area that's of interest to you, or literally just like scroll through and be like, counting stoneflies. That didn't occur to me as something that I wanted to do. Or like, this nonprofit is looking for board members, and I'm really interested in that. So we can also sometimes, even the portal, which is like refined and restricted, can feel a little overwhelming. So we're always also happy to consult with graduate students who are looking to find a form of community engagement and who can help them think through and imagine like what might be the place or the site or a good starting point for them. And that includes everything from like city council meetings to committee involvement to volunteering in direct service to getting involved with organizing work that's happening in a community. There's a ton of different ways we can help people navigate those things. We offer workshops and trainings that are available. There was just Rackham just co-hosted one on, for example, appreciative interviewing, but we do training around how to engage in your community. If you're interested in learning about how to integrate community work into your scholarship and teaching, we run a community engaged course design workshop. It's every other year, and we can train you in how to do in like community engaged pedagogy and syllabus development. We're part of student life, and student life, I don't think that was not a distinction that like academic affairs, student affairs distinction was not in any way salient to me as a graduate student. But what I can say about student life is we're very whole people oriented. We're very feelings oriented. Even for our staff are like what would be in other places like performance review. We're like, it's our performance reflection and evaluation system, right? And so we love working with students. So many of us are here. So that's a snippet of the ways that you could work with us. But all of those different things that I mentioned are ways that we can help you as a graduate student expand the life that you want to be living, deepen the work that you're doing as a graduate student into ways that are more connected to issues that impact you, and like helping you develop as a human and a professional with support. Those are all things that are really important to us as a center.
Honestly, that sounds so beautiful. I love that. I love the guidance, the support, the love that seems to honestly just like sort of pour through you from the Ginsberg Center. Thank you. Okay, so Amanda, having been one of us, do you have any strategies, any tips, any tricks that can make well-being a little more accessible for grad students here?
This took me a long time to do because I really consider myself like a nature person, but I would say like, in the immortal words of Gen Z, touch grass, make some intentional space to like leave your room. I did not go up north for like 5 years after living here, and that was a huge mistake. So I would say go to a lake, go to a river, there's like a ton of really beautiful and really accessible parks. I think finding ways to connect with nature, this maybe is like not the Ginsberg official thing, but it is the Amanda personal thing that I think is really important. I would say always make sure to take advantage of your health insurance as a graduate student. Generations of graduate students organized hard for you to have those benefits and get the care that you need. I think more graduate students than we like to think about will just like be like, oh, I'm too busy to go to the doctor. I'm too busy to go to therapy. I'm too busy to do those things. Please, you're not too busy. You're not too important to drink water, and you're not too important to go to the doctor. So do those things to take care of yourself. And then I can only speak for myself when I say like the more proximate I am to my community, like the happier I am. So find some way to connect with something, whether that's an organization or a person or even a location that's outside of your university work. I could list 10 different amazing organizations that are looking for volunteers right now that you could find a way to make a difference, but hard to get proximate with yourself so that you can be like present in your life. Care for yourself so you can care for your community. Those things are really deeply intertwined. And know that like the Ginsberg Center is a place among many that's really excited to work with you and to support you and to mentor you. the culture, even if it's not the reality, our expectation and understanding of what the culture of academia is, which is hostile, knives out, you've got to like fight for every scrap that you get. I will say that's just like not the vibe everywhere. So I don't know, come and hang out with us, come and talk to us. Maybe wait until September when the building, but don't even, just come and talk to us now. But it will be nicer in September. Let me see. I was like, did I have any last morsels? Oh, I will say this last thing, like make sure also to tap a little bit into your creativity. Don't lose that piece of yourself when you're here. And I don't know, make some food, share it with people. That's usually my technique.
That's a solid one.
Recipes. As far as Ginsberg is concerned, we want to hear from you. We love to work with you. Come and talk to us.
I absolutely will. And I hope that anyone listening for whom this resonates will as well. Okay, Amanda. Oh,
thank you so much, Sam. This was really fun.
Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom. This has been a treat, a pleasure, a blessing, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Okay, here are 3 takeaways and something small that you can do towards your social well-being. 1, check out the Ginsberg Center's Learning and Community series, which offers numerous workshops and trainings to support students interested in community engagement. 2, check out Connect to Community, a volunteer portal where you can connect with organizations in our community that are looking for support. And 3, remember that social well-being requires connecting with people outside of our immediate network. So start asking the names of the people who contribute to making your life what it is, your barista, your bartender, the person who checks you out of the co-op. And for something small that you can do right now towards your social well-being, the Ginsberg Center is co-sponsoring community sessions every other Wednesday this semester to transcribe housing deeds in Washtenaw County for racially restrictive covenants. There are online and in-person sessions that you can join to make a difference and connect with your community. You can find all of these links and more at rackham.umich.edu/Gradwell. Please email us with any questions at rackhampdeworkshops@umich.edu. And make sure to join us next time when I chat with Joe Zicki from the Wellbeing Collective about intellectual well-being. Take good care of yourself till then. Hey, hardworking grad student. Thank you for tuning into Gradwell. I hope you can take something away from this episode with you. If you like what you heard, be sure to write a review, like, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, check us out on social at UMich Grad School.